Good morning, everyone. This is Smashy Business Show. I am Warid Ahmed.
And I'm Abdul Majid.
And it is Tuesday, the 11th of March. It's the 11th day of Ramadan. Did you notice how Ramadan perfectly fell into the month?
Yeah.
It's
good.
I think that's like perfect timing.
It's easier to understand. Oh, it's the 11th. Because sometimes you have to, like, if it starts in the middle of the month, you're just counting.
No,
I fasted
exactly.
for 11 days now.
And Majid, yesterday I made this very conscious decision of, you know what, while work is the focus of my life, I'm gonna make ibadah so important, and I'm gonna basically, because the Quran, if you guys know the Quran, it has 30 juz'as. And usually what a lot of people do is they read one juz' per day. Usually it takes about like 30.
One chapter, right?
Yeah, 30 to 40
chapter.
minutes, I would say.
Yeah.
And for those 10 days, I didn't read anything. So I'm going to
Catch
make
up.
up for it.
Yeah.
For 10 days, I'm going to read 2 a day. I'm going to make up for it. I'm going to make up for what I was not doing. But Majid, you know what I really want to discuss with you that I just love so much? So yesterday on Smashy Business, we published this satirical chocolate ad, and it's by this Syrian chocolate brand, and their name, to be specific, is Rolana. And the reason why it was so interesting is because of the fact that they had Bashar al-Assad, the former president of Syria, in it. And it was almost mocking his escape. And if you listen to the audio, there's also mention of Hitler. I mean, they took it to the next level, absolutely to the next level. And I'm finding this really interesting, Majid, because I feel like something that I always thought, and I know a lot of people thought this too, is that business is not political.
No.
That business is not. I mean, isn't that what Starbucks said? That's what Starbucks said in their business. You know, like we don't deal in politics. We're not a part of politics, but
we don't fund any militaries and all that.
Yeah,
but
very interesting.
Yeah.
But
their former CEO, like the guy who was the CEO for 20 years, he was awarded multiple awards by AIPC. It's an American-Israel kind of a coalition where
do you know his name?
Schwartz, something Schwartz, Schultzman or Schwartz. I'll just Google it quickly. But we did a story on him, Howard Schultz. So yeah, that he was the head of Starbucks for 20 years, and he was very closely associated to all the Israeli organizations that work in America. So if your CEO, you have to understand, if your CEO is linked to someone, that means some of it will like trickle into your company's policies as well. So yeah, they can claim that they're very apolitical, but somehow, some way, every business which is on a global scale, they somehow have some bias towards certain party or politician or anything. So yeah, it's business is political sometimes, nearly every time. But yeah, we try to keep it different from the show.
I think it is political all the time, in the sense of that everyone is trying to gain some kind of interest, and to gain that kind of interest, you always have to support some kind of power.
Yeah.
And that will always exist.
To be honest, you are correct, and we should mention it today on the show that the markets are in a free dive. Sorry, it's a bloodbath. It's called a bloodbath because everything is literally red. And in the newsletter that we have, you should subscribe to it. Today, usually we just give the numbers, but today it was such a bad day for markets. Tesla has fallen nearly 10%. Tesla is the biggest stock. Nasdaq is down 3%. Every big market globally is down at least 2%.
Why do you think it might be, Majid?
It's Trump. It's Trump. Trump's, the thing that you're saying that business and politics, Trump is playing power politics. He's trying to make people succumb to his pressure. Canada, Mexico, China, 3 biggest examples. He's trying to put 25% tariffs on everything, literally. Then he wants to put automotive tariffs, like cars even. And all that is being seen as very negative for business and especially stock markets. Bitcoin is in a free dive. It's under 80,000. It's going up and down, but it's gone under 80,000 like multiple times in the last few weeks. So yeah, his political moves, which he's trying to make, are affecting business for millions of people whose bread and butter is stock markets, and there's talks of recession going on now. So when we look at Trump before he came into power. Everyone had this very positive sentiment. Even the markets, Bitcoin reached 100K when he was elected as president, and before that. But it was all that he's a very pro-crypto president.
I'd remember I'd read a piece, Majid, where Standard Chartered consultants had said that, and they'd confirmed this through their analysis, that when Trump does come into power, Bitcoin will definitely double.
Yeah, but it hasn't.
I'd remembered reading this, but I think it's not just that. I think it's also, this point of what he did with aid. So I believe
it's everything. Whatever decisions he's taken till now, everyone thinks. He gave an interview yesterday. Sorry, we're discussing Trump on a Smashy Business show, which is very Middle Eastern, but you have to understand that whatever he does is affecting us as well. Our markets, our trade. For example, if he slaps tariffs on Canada, Canadian products will increase in price. Eventually, we also do trade with Canada, UAE, Saudi Arabia, a lot of countries. Canada, I was reading, interestingly, is one of the biggest countries which has like 30% stake in all the building projects happening in Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia is building like a 1.5 trillion giant NEOM. 30% of their contracts are to Canadian companies. So imagine the impact that Saudi and UAE will eventually have.
Majid,
so it's an indirect impact, but it is there.
We're constantly speaking about these entities, these corporations, these countries, which are important, but I think it's the individuals who are affected. So basically, for those of you who don't know, he had frozen aid.
US aid,
Yeah, he had frozen US aid. And,
that's been reversed, but still, it's frozen still. The Supreme Court judge has...
It will take a while for it to go back to normal.
Come back,
and what essentially happened, a lot of people lost their scholarships, their their ability to leave their home countries, whether they were in Egypt, Sudan, Tunisia, and actually go to America. Business owners based in the Middle East who are relying on this aid were not able to receive it. And we heard something, a very interesting source close to the matter regarding Monify. So Monify, it's a business media company. It was founded last year in November by Naguib Suarez, the Egyptian billionaire. And there was a source that also came in about how the reason why he might have allegedly fired 80% of their staff is because of the US aid being frozen. And very interestingly, just to like support this, I'm not saying that it's true, I remember I'd seen that he tweeted about it, and we wrote about it, where Naguib said that, this is what happens when you make hasty decisions. I remember this was something that he said on X about Trump and freezing aid. So it might be true, but a lot of people were affected by it.
No, everyone thinks that US aid is just giving scholarships and money to the poor in poor countries and just money for education. US aid also invests in media startups. And media startups and well-established. So it's basically a kind of a fund where money is. They invested into projects and other stuff. Mostly they invest in US media stuff, US media companies, but they also invest in poorer countries which they think can come up with a new solution for media, because every US has this idea that free information, freedom of speech should be everywhere. So in that case, I think USAID may have some role, but publicly available information on their website, there's no mention of Monify. But a lot of people are talking about that maybe it was one of the reasons, because they have supported a lot of media startups in Russia. Funny story, right? USAID giving Russian startups, because they were very anti-establishment, those Russian media startups, they were very anti-Putin, so they funded them. And to be honest, sometimes I think...
anything anti-communist.
Yeah, anything anti-communist, anything anti-Russia, or anything anti-countries which are against America, or like the enemies, or like the opposition of America. So a lot of complications are there in politics and business. They converge on so many points. The only good thing that I always find...
you can keep them separate?
You can't keep them separate, but if in history it has been kept separate, it's by Saudi, UAE, and this region, to be honest. You have to realize UAE does trade with everyone. They've signed 20 plus CEPAs. They're going for like 30 plus CEPAs by the end of this year. Their plan is to like sign 50 plus CEPAs by 2030. Economic partnership agreements, comprehensive economic partnership agreements. They want to sign that, and it helps them do direct trade with a country. So even in EU, when they sign with a country, they don't have to abide by the EU laws. They just go directly with the country. So they're doing business with everyone. Saudi is doing business
They
with the
are
Chinese
doing
and the US.
They are doing
and
business with
Russia.
everyone.
And any, like, if you see different polls in the world, political polls, they're doing business with everyone. And this is the only thing that they can do.
And speaking of the UAE, a very major national gem, a part of the UAE, is His Highness Sheikh Tahnoon. So Sheikh Tahnoon, he chairs International Holding Group. And this group in itself, they own Multiply Group. And Multiply Group, they own something called PAL Cooling Holding. And what Multiply Group is trying to do right now with PAL Cooling Holding Group is they're trying to sell it. And they're trying to sell it for $1 billion. But the reason why all of this, is really important, it's not because of the fact that the firm Multiply Group is currently working with Standard Chartered to complete this sale. It's it's what Multiply Group in itself has stakes in.
Yeah.
So they actually have stakes in Rihanna, the very famous singer. If you don't know her, I'm completely surprised. They have a stake in Rihanna's lingerie company, and they also have a stake in Getty Images.
Yeah.
So that in itself, it's really interesting. I think when I hear His Highness Sheikh Tahnoon's name, Majid, I love how his investments are so varied. He's in everything. He's in absolutely everything. He chairs G42, and that's the leading artificial intelligence company in the UAE. He chairs MGX, that's a technology fund that, by the way, is allegedly backing the $400 billion Stargate project in the US by Sam Altman in collaboration with Trump. And, he's also a part of International Holding Company. He's a part of Cooling Division Systems. He's everywhere. He's absolutely everywhere. But nobody meets him, and nobody gets a video of him, and nobody gets to hear his voice. But what do you think about this story, Majid?
We have to do a deep research. I think let's try Grok to find some place where he gave a speech or something, right? Like with His Highness Sheikh Hamdan, that's been the case. I told you, I saw him read poetry. I want to listen to him do a keynote. Likewise, I want His Highness Sheikh Tahnoon. To be honest, I've kind of started admiring him because the way he's carried all this money and all these companies. If I was the chair of one company, I wouldn't be able to handle it. But he chairs so many companies. He has quarterly, half-yearly, year-end meetings on all of them, board meetings. He sits in them, talks about them.
Exactly.
So it's just, imagine the space, if you call it space castle that he has in his brain, where he knows.
And he's also deployed as a national security advisor of the UAE.
Yeah, he's the deputy prime minister, deputy president, deputy ruler of UAE after his brother, His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed. He's the president, so he's the deputy ruler as well. He has so many hats he wears, and he's still doing justice to all of them. That's the most important part for me. And we did, a lot of people have done so many articles on him, put spotlight on him. Wall Street Journal, Bloomberg did it, Wired had an article. So everyone is trying to find the phenomena that this guy is.
I don't think everyone.
These big people at least.
There yet.
Yeah,
Not
but
yet.
you will find, everyone at least quotes these articles because the research that these articles do, the sources that they go to, it's very difficult to find those sources. So only the big journalists or the big firms can have those kinds of inside sources. But the main thing is that he's turned into a phenomenon. He's not a personality now. He is someone that everyone is looking into, how is this guy sitting on $1.5 trillion and still managing to run everything around him?
I believe it's more than $1.5 trillion. And you guys will soon
this is an evaluation, most probably. But there's just this one funny story which is common among all these articles is that he was a great chess player. And he created a computer program. I forgot the name of the computer program. He asked his scientists computer scientists to make a computer program. And he used to play chess with a computer. And then he found out that Microsoft or someone created a better computer which was able to defeat chess grand champions. And then he was like, okay, now I need that. So he is a master player because he loves chess. He's always in the gym. You remember?
But I think what I find also so interesting is he's just as social as he is intelligent.
Yeah.
Because if you if you guys go online, very simple Google search, you'll notice that he's met with Bill Gates,
Everyone.
Elon Musk,
I would say everyone.
the SoftBank CEO, who
Masayoshi's
else?
son.
Turki al-Sheikh, just very
Turki
recently,
al-Sheikh,
I
yes.
saw a photo. Who
So
else?
it's
Many
kind of
people.
like an obligation for anyone who visits the UAE, meets the royals. He has to meet Sheikh Tahnoon.
I don't think it's an obligation,
It's
Majid.
kind of become an
I think
obligation.
that they need it. I think
No,
that they
yeah,
need it.
it's become an obligation for them, not the royals. It's become an
Yeah.
obligation because they know that if they want to do something in Dubai, they have to go and meet His Highness Sheikh Hamdan or the Dubai ruler. But I have realized in the past few years that the Dubai ruler has given a lot of power, a lot of these meeting things. He's transferred them to Sheikh Hamdan because he's the crown prince. He will eventually become the Dubai ruler. And with Abu Dhabi, you see that the crown prince right now of Abu Dhabi, who will be the ruler of Abu Dhabi eventually, he has a ceremonial role when it comes to these meetings. He also meets a lot of people, but his role, if you see all the press releases on VAM and you do an analysis of it, his role is to go outside, meet foreign like country, prime minister, presidents, heads of states, and build relations outside. But if someone wants to come and build relations within Abu Dhabi or build their business
It's
within
His
Abu
Highness
Dhabi,
Sheikh
it's
Hamdan.
His
I
Highness
mean,
Sheikh Tahnoon. Yeah.
Sheikh Tahnoon.
So internally, he handles the guests who come and want to do business. Externally, the crown prince goes and has these head of state
Majid,
level
that
meetings.
does make sense because he's the deputy national security advisor, and if you want to protect the security of the country,
Yeah.
why wouldn't you stay in the country
And,
itself?
sometimes you don't say security in the sense of like, oh, someone will attack you. It's financial security as well, right? So
That is
that
very
is why
interesting.
kind
I
of
didn't. I
his-
didn't think of it like that.
Yeah.
I didn't think of it like that.
So
but
it's just if, for example, you remember we did the BlackRock story a while ago. It was like last year in November that BlackRock is setting up an office in Abu Dhabi, and they were already in DIFC. And every comment on that post was, "Oh, wherever BlackRock goes, they suck the life out of a country." So everyone. This is
that
like the
actually
general
true?
sentiment.
Is that actually true?
No, it's not. They're an asset management company. They're not like some political group which will kill a country or take all the resources. They're not America that they go and tell everyone that, oh, we're bringing diplomacy to you and then steal all the minerals and all the resources. But the thing is, that was the general sentiment. That's like the idea that has been created about BlackRock online, on channels and
blame
everywhere.
people for making that sentiment.
Yeah, people will believe anything on internet nowadays. You just go and do a deep research. The thing about BlackRock is they always go to a country where they see potential. So if you look at from the other perspective, the positive perspective, if they're coming here, that means there is
They see the money.
They see the money and they see the potential for growth in this
Yeah.
country. Why would they come and invest and open 2 offices in the same
Yeah.
country, right? They would never do it, but they did it. Why? Because they know. So yeah, kind of like financial security as well. He has to see the players that are entering the Abu Dhabi market, Dubai market, or the UAE market. Are they safe enough? So that financial security role he also plays. He judges them. And being a very good chess player, I'm a chess player. I played like for 6-7 years, but I have left now. I think I've completely forgotten everything. But chess is the best game to develop strategy and be very smart. It's the best game on the planet to develop strategies.
Is it not haram?
No, chess is not haram. It's not a gambling game.
I'm not sure.
It's just a game. You just play it. You don't gamble on it. I think cards where you gamble like poker and everything, maybe. But chess is it's a very simple strategy. It's like playing Ludo.
I think because there's such a stigma attached to games, Magic.
Yeah.
Any game that I hear anything of, like I heard chess, like I heard you just say game.
Have you played chess?
I've never.
I'll teach you.
I was not a good player.
And
I won't
I'll
lie
teach
to you.
you,
I was
like, the
really
basic
bad. I
ones.
was really horrible.
There's
But,
like 1,000 opening moves. Imagine if someone is a master at chess, he knows 1,000 opening moves. Imagine the
Magic,
moves that come after that.
Speaking of moves,
Yeah.
Saudi Arabia is making big moves because now, for the first time ever, the duty-free operator of Saudi Arabia is Saudi-owned. So let me just give you guys a bit of context. So Saudi Arabia's duty-free retail has historically been operated by various entities, but there's recent developments that have shifted this landscape. So prior to this moment today, it would basically Lagardère Travel Retail, through its joint venture Saudi-French company for duty-free operations and management, SFDF, was the major operator. So these were the people who actually owned the duty-free in Saudi
And
Arabia.
ran it in the country.
Yeah,
So.
but now this has completely changed. Now it's Saudi Arabia's public investment fund, and they've launched Al Waha Duty Free Company, making it the first fully Saudi-owned duty-free operator. Now, you know, to some people this might not seem very big, but this is amazing. This is completely amazing. This is a great milestone for them. I always believe that when something goes back to being locally owned, it thrives. It thrives and it does really well. And I feel like a very great example of this is the UAE's airport, Qatar's
The Dubai
airport.
duty-free.
It's Dubai's duty free. Honestly, nothing can ever match it in the world. I don't think anything can match it. But we'll see what happens with Saudi Arabia. But this is a great milestone for them.
No, the Saudi duty free. I don't know what business they'll do. Like eventually, we'll see how much they make and what's the eventual revenue and profits. Dubai duty free last year had a target of $2 billion in revenue. They did 2.2 billion. So that shows you that there is potential. So if they're doing 2 billion, if Saudi comes and they're going into luxury duty free, not only like duty free, like you go to an airport, they're putting it on yachts, they're putting it in the best places possible, the pop-ups and the big stores and everything. So they're not only focusing on duty free, it's luxury duty free. So you'll get maybe, I don't know the brand names, but I think Hermes bag and the Birkins and all that, you can also buy those there.
And by the way, you know that's why people like going to the duty free, because basically what happens to you in the airport is Hermes might offer you a bag. They might offer you a bag because basically the way that things work with Hermes Majid is you have to develop a relationship with them. This is how it works. Yes, that's actually how it works. No, it's not confusing. Basically, you're somebody, you can be rich. If you've never had you can walk into the store and you're like, okay, I want this bag. No, you start off small. They offer you a pair of sandals. They offer you a pair of sandals. You don't say no to it. You buy it. Because if you say no, you go down the list of priority people who are going to get the bag. So you buy sandals, then, I don't know, you buy a jacket, then you buy a wallet, and then you keep buying. You buy stuff you don't like, and that's how you reach that bag. Or...
So you build reputation.
You have to build a reputation with them. No, you have to build an account.
Oh.
And you basically have to build an account. It's kind of like you can't just buy the bag that you want right away. And even if you want that specific bag, it all depends on your sales associate. Yeah, it does. It does depend on them. They might give you the bag that you wanted, but in a color that you did not want. And you have to say yes so that you can be on the list of priority people who can get to the next bag. So that's how it works. However, it works differently in different countries. So in the UAE, in Dubai, it is very difficult to get certain bags because the demand is very high.
Oh, yeah.
No, it's very high here. The Hermes game here is crazy because you have to think about it. The amount of royals in this country, the amount of wealth in this country. So it's very hard to get a bag here. However, I've spoken to somebody who said, it may be hard for me to get a bag in Dubai, but in the duty free, they offer it to me. Or when I go to New York or when I go to France, it's more easier for me to get certain bags. So yeah, that's the way that it works. It works differently depending, but people are going to love this. Shopping, by the way, in the duty free is crazy. Like luxury stores, they offer things that even the actual stores in the country don't have.
You reminded me of something. We went to Qatar recently, so I had to buy this perfume for my wife because she said I have to buy it.
I have to is crazy.
Yeah, I have to because I don't know the brands, and
it's
she was like, "This brand."
Majid.
No, I bought it. But funny story, on Dubai duty free, the same perfume was, I completely forgot the name. I went and she just said the name and the category or like something. The Dubai duty free, it had for 750 dirhams. In the Qatar duty free, the same thing was for 500 Qatari riyals. So even if you convert it to dirhams, I paid 550 for the same perfume. So Dubai duty free was more expensive for me than Qatar duty free. And it's like, oh, why did this happen? So I asked the lady and she was like, I don't know, ask the Dubai duty free. So yeah, even duty free wise, for the same product, you have different prices. So yeah, that's one thing. So if someday you want to buy something and you're at the Qatar airport, buy, because Qatar duty free is cheaper than
And you
Dubai
know,
duty free.
there's certain international products
Yeah.
like makeup that's only sold in the duty free. You will not find it in stores here. So I am so excited to see what Saudi is going
Yeah.
to do with this. But much more than this, you know what I find so interesting, Majid? I see PIF everywhere.
Everywhere.
PIF is everywhere. Saudi Arabia's public investment fund, which is nearly $1 trillion. I know that I say this all the time, but
Yeah.
it's so significant. They own a lot. They own a lot, and let me just give you guys like a rundown of this. So, you know, some of their majority stakes, they have a majority stake in Saudi's Aramco. They're the largest shareholder, own, I believe, over 80%, which is crazy. We'll get the specific number for you guys soon. They also own a significant stake in Saudi Telecom, and it's basically.
STC is
Yes,
this,
it's
yeah.
STC, and it's worth $51 billion.
Oh.
They also own major stake in the Saudi National Bank. They also
Yeah.
own 85% of Newcastle United.
Yeah.
So it's just, oh, and they also own stakes in all of the 4 clubs. So Al Hilal.
Yeah, the top 4, yeah. They invested in them when Saudi Pro League became
Yeah.
big. They invested in them.
They own something in everywhere. Even I remember they
Heathrow
had
Airport recently.
Oh, yeah.
18% stake in Heathrow Airport.
And then they'd also purchased,
Yeah.
I believe, at some point at the end of last year, over more than 40% of the MBC from
Oh, yeah.
Kingdom Holding Company, which is owned by Saudi Prince Al Walid bin Talal. So for me, when I see PIF, it's such a beautiful story. And you know, as Trump said, you know, they have a lot of money and they're doing really great. Trump would
And
like to
it's-
say that he would catch up to them, but I don't
It's
think
not
so.
just
It's not
business
happening.
ventures. Sports-wise, we also did a lot of stories. Go to our socials, follow us on our socials, and you'll find out that they've invested so much in sports. The Saudi
Yeah.
WTA fund that we talked about yesterday, that whatever payment, maternity payment leave they'll get is sponsored by PIF.
So women,
Yeah.
female tennis players, for the first time ever, are being provided with a maternity fund by PIF.
And
They're everywhere.
They've just started a TKO league. We didn't discuss it on the show because we did it around
Yeah.
weekend. TKO is the owner of WWE, World Wrestling Entertainment, and UFC across the globe, and they're starting a
Oh,
boxing
me and
league
Rich
with
did
them.
discuss it.
Oh,
We
you did? Oh, sorry.
Yeah, we did.
Missed it.
We did.
I just saw the initial discussion of that show. So, yeah, that happened. They have Live Golf, which is giving competition to PGA Tour. They've literally done everything and everything.
Absolutely
That's the
everything.
easiest way. Everything and everything.
I believe. Oh,
And
Majid,
this is, let's start
Yeah.
the next story with this. It's kind of like a Middle Eastern colonization of the world right now, right? Saudi investing in everything, America and Europe nearly buying everything. And now the next story.
The UAE is doing the same thing. So Adnoc may soon acquire natural gas producing fields in the United States. Now, this is all a part of their expansion strategy, and it was actually reported by Bloomberg.
Yeah.
And the reason why this is also really interesting is because if we break it down for you, this is not the first time that they're trying to do this.
Yeah.
They've done this before. They've gotten their hands on this before. They have experience. So basically, they actually have stake in Next Decade Corp, which is basically in Texas, and it's a
LNG
liquefied
project, yeah.
natural gas project, and it was one of their first U.S. acquisitions. They also have a partnership with ExxonMobil for a hydrogen project in Texas, and they also signed this $60 billion deal with OMV AG to form a chemicals giant. And it also includes joint ownership of Nova Chemicals U.S. facilities.
Yeah.
I mean, this is great.
Makes me really happy that
It makes me
our
really happy
companies-
too,
yeah.
because all the West always has to say, and I've read a lot of articles, by the way, and they always love to mention, they rely on their oil. Their oil is backing them. Their oil is this lovely, beautiful bed that they get to go
Yeah.
back to. But look what they're doing with it.
Yeah.
Because Majid, I feel like this is so underestimated often. People speak about countries having resources, especially with Saudi. They're always calling it, this oil giant. But you actually have to know how to use these resources. You have to know how to allocate them. And this over here, this is such a great example of it, because the UAE, not only do they have oil, but they know how to allocate it.
Yeah.
They know how to use it. They know how to expand it. They know how to spread it out. And that's not something that all countries know how to do. They don't know how to use their resources to their advantage. And this is a great example of Adnoc doing it. And I think I just also love Adnoc because I love their gas station. I love their coffee. I love Adnoc. Adnoc is great.
You can just look at, we call it the MENA region, right? Middle East and North Africa region. You just look at Africa. They have like the biggest reserves of the biggest and the most rarest minerals on
But they
planet.
don't know how to allocate it.
They are either not allowed to like excavate them and use them and make a global monopoly. And sometimes they also don't want to do it because they're corrupt and all that. But this thing that they've done, I've realized over the years that Europe, their golden age, when they went into tech and industrialization, and they used their knowledge, they studied this, they created stuff, and they went into a golden age. And now it's kind of in a doldrums. It's declining.
I think it's
because
almost
they
dying.
left all that. They stopped creating. They stopped gaining more knowledge, and they went into a lot of other things, a lot of leftist kind of things. The only thing that Saudi and Middle East and UAE and all these countries are doing right now, they're taking their resources. So for Europe, it was knowledge and the art of creating. For UAE, it's their oil. They have built something on the basis of oil. Obviously, they started with oil, no doubt about it. They started with oil. They found oil. They started with oil. They built this country. They built an economy. And now you're using that money to diversify and build something else. Not everyone thinks of it like that. A lot of people will just come and say, okay, we have this for the next 100 years. Why do we need to move away from it? And they're moving away from it because they understand that they have to build something after, like, for the next 150 years. When oil depletes and they have just enough, they will have to build something. And it's very nice planning. It's not just a decade-long or 2-decade planning. It's a century planning. You remember you shared the video of Mohammed bin Salman, the crown prince?
But you know,
and he said that I come from money and I don't want to build something for the next 3-4 years. I want to build something for generations. And that you have to plan for 100 next years.
You know, Majid, with the UAE, what's so beautiful about their story, now us seeing Adnoc trying to expand into the US is where it all started. So, you know, obviously, I believe they discovered oil around the 1950s, and then that's when they started commercializing it later into the 1960s. However, before that, by the way, the pearl trade was great. Their pearl trade was beautiful. I remember I'd watched this video where their pearl divers, they would dive into the sea and they would be able to hold their breath.
Yeah.
And
it was an art, skill form, right?
That's crazy. That's so crazy. And they also made a business out of that.
Yeah.
They also made a business out of pearls. Like, for them, by the way, the sea was very important.
Yeah.
Gold was very important. And they were traders. They were really good traders. I remember I had one of my Emirati friends, and she was telling me about how her grandparents, like great grandparents, they would like hop into these ships and they would go to India, they'd trade with India, they'd come back with ingredients like musk, agar wood. Yeah, and really random, by the way. I don't know if you know this, but a lot of Emiratis love Mumbai. They love Mumbai.
It's a port city, I guess, that is why.
No, seriously. They love it so much. Like, I even had my friend telling me that her and her family, they go there together to get like all their ingredients.
Yeah.
And it's really affordable. It's really nice. And just something else that I also remembered, Majid, apparently there's this thing in China where they're like, what are they called? You know those like Muppet shows? Not just Muppet shows, but you know there's like performances, and there's so many of them apparently of the UAE royals.
Nice.
And I just landed
Stories of them.
I just landed on it on my TikTok page, and it's crazy. They do so many reenactments that they're just like obsessed. I don't know how to explain it to you.
It's the trade route that you follow, the sea route. All the port cities, they're very famous for this because they had so much trade going on for so many years that they had cultural exchanges as well. So they got married, intermarriages happened, trade happened. People went and lived there for like 2-3 months because ships at that point were not that great. So they had to get away from sea for some months. So that is why when you go through the Arabian Sea from Karachi port, and then you have the Mumbai port, and you go through all these ports, Usually the trade in this region is done on oil vessels. There's like 70% of the trade on this route is oil, and then 30% is all the other stuff. So yeah, it's good. Good story to know that they have cultural exchanges. Maybe we'll go someday.
Of course they do.
Take a cruise on this route.
Thank you so much for watching, everyone. The show has come to an end. This is Smashy Business Show, a Smashy Business production under the Augustus Media Podcast Network. You can find our newsletter on Smashy TV, and do make sure to follow us on all of our channels. Have a lovely day.